All right, question number 5. This is the multi-focus question. Part A, we had 5 components. You need at least 3 of the top 4 components, and you need component 5 to get an essentially correct. So the direction of the association, positive or increasing. The strength of the association, strong. The form of the association, linear or approximately linear. Unusual features, no points with large discrepancies from the straight line pattern exhibited by most of the points on the plot. Context, the association between chest circumference and weight of tool elk. You have to have the context in there along with 3 of these 4 components here in order to get an essentially correct. To get a partially correct, you could have just 2 of these components and component 5. Sorry, 1 or 2 components and component 5, or 2 of these components would be a partially correct. So 3 of the top components and context is an essentially correct. 1 or 2 of these components and context would be a partially correct, or just 2 of these top 4 components would be a partially correct. Give yourself an E, a P, or an I on section A. Part B had only 2 components, provides the correct value of 196.17 kilograms in part BI with work shown, provides the correct value of 8.13 kilograms in part BII, or a value consistent with the predicted weight. So if you did this wrong, but then you calculated the residual correctly, you can still get component number 2 with work shown. So you should have gotten 196.17, and you should have gotten 8.13 for part BII. If you showed work, which can be as simple up here as just showing that you're substituting into the formula, and then your answer, please make sure that your answers have units. And then the residual, RAP, residual equals actual minus predicted. So you would show that subtraction. If you got both components, give yourself an E. If you only got 1 of the 2 components, give yourself a P. Or if you got correct answers but no work, give yourself a P. Yes?
So if I have units on one but not the other?
Should be fine. Should be fine. Especially if you showed your work. Part C. 3 components here. Identified the slope as 3.7455. You did not have to do what they did, which is to say the value of the slope is. If you interpreted the slope and you grabbed the right number as the slope, that would count for component number 1. Component 2 provides an interpretation that references an increase in a number of kilograms of weight for each 1 centimeter increase in chest circumference, and indicates that the slope represents a change in a prediction using non-deterministic language such as predicted, estimated, expected, or average. So the model solution, this value indicates that the predicted weight of a tool elk increases by 3.7455 kilograms for each additional centimeter of chest circumference. But they have that predicted right there. That would be component 3. If you don't have predicted or estimated or expected or some other word like that that indicates that what you find from using the equation is not going to be the actual weight of the elk. If you met all 3 components, give yourself an E. If you got 2 of the 3 components, give yourself a P. Otherwise, give yourself an I. And then part D. 3 components here gives a correct p-value of 0.002, consistent with the 2-sided alternative hypothesis, provides a correct comparison of the p-value to alpha, p is less than alpha, and provides a correct decision. We would reject the null. Provides a conclusion statement in context consistent with and in terms of the alternative hypothesis using non-deterministic language. We find convincing evidence that the slope of whatever. I don't remember all of the language there. Population slope of the linear regression of weight versus chest circumference is different from 4.5. If you got all 3 components, give yourself an E. If you got 2 of the 3 components, give yourself a P. Otherwise, give yourself an I. Does anybody need help scoring any of these 4 sections? Right. Because it was scored in 4 sections, every E is worth 1 point. Every P is worth a half a point. You cannot give yourself a final score that has half points, but you can round down, which is what is most generally done. If your answer was absolutely excellent and the only reason that you got a P on one of the parts was like you didn't show your work on one of the pieces, but you got the right answer there on the residual, then you could round up. But typically we're going to round down. All right. Yes.
What if would it be a roundup in this situation? Like I calculated the right one, but
Usually they will overlook something like that because you had the right thing here. A lot of times that'll be, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm scrolling past a lot of notes where stuff like that has happened and they address exactly how they would handle it. But typically what I've seen is that if a student transposes a number wrong, they usually don't count that against them if they continue to do all of the work correctly after that and they had right work elsewhere. Yes?
so I got a P because I forgot to add the first chest circumference. So
I would round up on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. If that was the only thing that you missed, everything else was an E, then yeah, I would round up. If you had the wrong p-value but you reached the right conclusion, that would probably be a P. Especially if you, what was the third component there? Yeah, you have to compare to alpha. So if you wrote a conclusion but you had a wrong p-value here, then it'd be a partially correct. All right. We have just enough time to do question number 6, and then we will score question number 6 on Monday, but they recommend 25 minutes. We technically have 27 minutes exactly. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys all 27 minutes to do question number 6. We will score that on Monday, and then I have something other than a bunch of FRQs on Monday. All right. Go ahead and begin question 6 now.